Core strength. You know you need it, right? But what does it look like to have a strong core? And how does it affect your hip symptoms on and off the mat? Is doing planks and chaturangas in your practice good for your core? What about navasana and boat pose? Are these poses enough? What am I missing? I get questions about this all of the time. Hi, I'm Kathy from Balance Yoga, and I help women who practice yoga who are struggling with hip pain on the mat to navigate their practice without having to stop practicing altogether and ultimately transform their movement potential through intelligent yoga sequencing. People can get really confused because there's a lot of advice out there around core strength. Oftentimes that advice is missing vital pieces of the core strengthening puzzle to be truly effective at managing symptoms like hip pain on the mat. I'm going to demystify the process and shed some light on exactly what it means to have a strong core in yoga. If you're like most of my clients, you'd be forgiven for thinking that it's about carving out washboard abs and a strong muscular back. These are often the aesthetic side benefits of core strength that many people come to yoga for in the first place, or they spend hours in the gym trying to develop. But you may be surprised to learn six-pack abs actually have very little to do with core strength. So what is core strength? Essentially, it's about balance. It's a combination of stability, mobility, and optimal movement patterns. And you really need to strike an effective balance of all three to truly acquire a strong, functional core. Have you ever observed the phenomena where the person on the mat next to you looks like they're training for Iron Woman with super ripped abs, but they can barely lift their feet off the ground in navasana? While the much curvier yogi on your right is floating her feet effortlessly towards the sky. This is because yogi on the left, Iron Woman, may have lots of global muscular strength, but is lacking that integrated balance of core stability, flexibility, and good movement patterns that yogi on the right may be enjoying. And so when one of these three areas is lacking, no matter how many planks or chaturangas you do, your core will never be truly strong. So how can you develop all three of these areas at once? Drum roll, do yoga. That's great news, right? As yogis, we're already so much further up that core strengthening ladder because our movement practice involves all three of these areas. Unless you're doing 108 chaturangas and not much else, you're probably getting a really well-rounded activation of muscles in functional patterns and a release of tension that balances out your posture and promotes a strong core. But here's the thing. Most of us have come to yoga following periods of a really sedentary lifestyle, or we spend the majority of our time when we're not on the mat sitting. And this creates two problems for our core strength goals. Firstly, our focus is outwards, not inwards. Living a largely sedentary lifestyle with most of our attention outwardly focused towards our devices instead of inwardly focused on our body sensations and our messages from our body, we lose the sensitivity and discernment around our body sensations. Our ability to appropriately detect where our body is in space, called proprioception, is weakened. And then the second problem is pancake butt, sitting on our glutes, likely in a slumped position, And this causes that inhibition and weakness in this really super important powerhouse group of muscles that are essential for core strength. If you struggle with hip pain on the mat, a lack of core strength could be part of the problem. I go into this in more detail in my upcoming blog, the benefits of core strength in yoga, plus why your hips will thank you for it. And so look out for this in my next email to you. I'm here to support your highest movement potential. Namaste.